Welcome back, everybody, to the upper tier. Hope your weekend is off to a cracking start. Tonight, we said we'd bring you a new show called Beat the Bookie, where we take a look and see can we unravel, hopefully, a few good tips in football for you over the weekend. Um, so we got some of the guys from the network, obviously, to send in some of their tips for the weekend. Had a quick look, as always, down through the fixtures. Very hard to find a bit of value here in terms of winning a few bob off the bookies. We did have a good win last week. For a tenner, we pulled in 140 quid where we had Liverpool, and Liverpool and Man United all to win to nil. So it worked out. Sorry, Leicester, Liverpool and Chelsea all to win to nil. Came in nice. Tenner returned us 140. So we said we put together a little bit of an episode each Friday where we take a look at some of the odds and where's the value and where you could potentially, our viewers could pick up a few bob and have a bit of crack at the same time. So we got some bets sent in. Greg, as you know from the network, he's on Retrotainment. Ted's co-host on Retrotainment and on Retrotainment Recast. Sent in a couple of bets to us there. So his picks for the weekend were Liverpool, Villa, Man City, Man United, and Brighton all to win 6-1. Interesting bet, obviously. The ones that stick out to me, Villa. Probably a tough game against Newcastle. Both teams off to a bad start. Could be an iffy one. Brighton as well, the evening game against Watford could be a nifty one. Probably stinks of a draw, but Greg has them in there in his bet at 6-1. Interesting. Obviously, Liverpool, City, and United, the bankers in that bet, they're expected all to win. Also, if you want to add a little bit of value to that, he came back with another one: Liverpool -1 in the handicap bet, and obviously United -1 in the handicap bet with the same Villa, Man City, and Brighton. That comes in at 11-1. So a tidy little bet there, like a tenner on that would return 120. Might be worth a little punt. Graham, as you know, the Spurs fan from the Monday mashup, who loves a little flutter on the football and all things betting, sent us in his bets for the weekend. Interesting one. He has Liverpool, Man City -1, Villa, Newcastle over 1.5 goals, Leeds and Everton over 1.5 goals, Man United, Tottenham, and Arsenal, Chelsea over 1.5 goals. And his seven fouls are returning 9-1. Seems like a tasty little bet there. Nothing really sticks out that would be a little bit iffy at all. Fairly solid picks from Graham, who studies the football all the time. So a nice little bet there at 9-1. Again, a tenner to return you 100 quid, maybe worth a punt. Also got a bet in from Mark Hogan, a man who also likes a little bet on the football. He's our resident referee, as you know. You see him every week on our Monday mashup, and obviously he does all our Man United shows as well. When we do previews and reactions and stuff like that, he always comes on. Very passionate about his club, of course. So he sent in two bets to us. One was Man United to win 3-0, which is 12-1. Seems like a decent bet. United going down to St. Mary's against Southampton. Southampton kind of not as strong as they were with some of the outgoings and stuff like that. So it could be a good time for United to continue their real good form in the season. And could they potentially put three past Southampton? I think they can. Again, the question is whether they could keep a clean sheet. Maybe James Ward-Prowse might pop up with an L set piece or something like that. But again, good value at 12-1. Whack a fiver on that, potentially get you 65 quid back. He also sent us a score bet as well. So Greenwood, Maupay, and Jota all to score 10-1. Seems like decent picks there. Maupay, of course, for Brighton, Jota for Liverpool, and Greenwood electric in his finishing for Man United at 10-1. I took a look at his bet there and I picked out another kind of tasty one myself where I took Mark's 3-0 at 12-1 and I combined it with Greenwood first goal scorer and that returns 40-1. So that might be a bit of a fun bet to have. Maybe throw a couple of quid on it or something like that. 2 quid would return you 80 odd, you know what I mean? So just to have a bit of crack if you wanted. Certainly another bet that'd be a bit of fun and stuff like that, and not too much on it. As always, when any of this sort of advice on betting and stuff like that, always gamble responsibly. And the golden rule is never gamble with money unless you can afford to lose it, because the amount of times you win as opposed to lose, always be careful with your money. If you're not in a position to be gambling, don't be gambling. Always be aware of that and be responsible. I picked out a couple of bets for the weekend. I did a handicap bet of 14-1. I did Liverpool -2. Man City -2 and Man United -1 gives you 14-1, which I think is a real tidy bet this weekend. Again, obviously the lunchtime kickoff on a Saturday is always a bit dodgy, and especially when you're betting on your own team. But I think Liverpool have more than enough to put a bunch of goals past Burnley. I think City will get back on the goal scoring road against Norwich, and I think Man United against Southampton. At least you're looking at 2 goals there. So good value there, 14-1. Fiver will return you 75 quid. Well worth the betting, the handicap betting there. Liverpool -2, Man City -2, and Man United -1. Well worth the bet. I picked out 2 other bets. I mean, obviously, Big Rom is back for Chelsea. So Chelsea to win both halves against Arsenal is 9-2, which I think is a very strong bet with really good odds. I think Chelsea definitely have the firepower and are levels above Arsenal at the moment. So certainly they could easily win both halves at 9-2. And if Big Rom is in the team, you know there's going to be goals. The man is on fire at the moment. Had an amazing season last year in Serie A. Coming back to the Premier League, coming back to Chelsea, a very, very strong side as it is. Only goals in this man's future. That's all we can say. I also looked at Lukaku. So if you want to have a fun bet, Lukaku to score a hat trick is 28-1. Might be worth throwing a couple of quid on. Big Ron back, maybe going to lay down a statement. Arsenal very poor defensively at the moment. Goalkeeper is a bit of a shambles. Back line is a bit of a shambles. Up against a Lukaku with the talent that he has around him at Chelsea, should be able to put a couple of goals away. Interesting to see. Lukaku for a hat trick, 28-1. Again, this, folks, has just been a bit of a fun episode on the upper tier called Beat the Bookie. We're going to bring it to you every Friday. We get picks from guys off the network. If you want to drop your picks down in the comments, let us know. As always, stick a like as well on the video. Let us know what your picks are for the weekend, what you're thinking of doing, if you've seen any value in the market, any bets that we've missed out on. Again, you can hit us up, obviously, on Twitter at the_upper_tier, or you'll get us on Facebook or Instagram, the upper tier. This is a new show we're going to be starting on a weekly basis where we just have a bit of fun and nothing too serious, no big money going down, just a bit of crack, and we see how the guys progress through the season. If they land some decent bets, we'll have a bit of fun with that. As always, Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube for all the versions of the show, video versions of the show, audio versions of the show, Spotify, Podbean, and Apple iTunes. And as always, keep it lit. The Premier League is back.